Well, listen, we're going to start up because we're going to have Sunny for the first half hour, and then we're going to have kind of an open discussion. And Sunny, we're just absolutely delighted that you're here. You're leading the charge in so many, many important areas. And I initially, if we had more time, I would kind of give this elaborate setup. But here's the quick tweetable tweet for all of you that are attending. We are trying to build not only a kind of a winning, tech-based innovation economy, but based on the data that we're gathering and the work that we've done in partnership with Kroger and many others, there's like a big low-hanging fruit opportunity in developing and kind of a sustainability center of excellence and kind of leadership pillar for our region. And so that's why I wanted to spend some time on Earth Day of all times with a kind of an early pioneer in this area, representing one of the most important grocers in the world. And I would be lying if I didn't say that when I took this job, one of the things that tipped me over was an article I read that was quoting Kroger CEO Rodney McMullen, who said, the days of the plastic bags are over. And I just thought that was so powerful because much as I loved all the startups, we know that big company participation in the green transformation is going to play a big role in kind of moving the needle. So Sunny, welcome aboard. Why don't I just open up with, introduce yourself and tell us about the revolution that you're leading.
Yeah, so thanks for having me, Pete, and happy Earth Day, everybody. I know you all are sustainability leaders in the Cincinnati area, and I'm just so grateful to spend this time with you today. A little bit about me. I've been in role. I am executive director of the Kroger Company Zero Hunger, Zero Waste Foundation and been in role over 4 years now. So a part of the Zero Hunger, Zero Waste journey since it started. And I think it would be helpful just to take a minute to set the stage, give a little context and a little background on Kroger's journey to zero. So in late 2017, so over the past 3.5 years, right? Kroger launched our Zero Hunger, Zero Waste Moonshot. And it's a 7-point, bullet point social impact plan. And really announced our goal to help create communities free of hunger and waste by 2025. And we all know that 2025 is just around the corner and we're making progress as the continued economic impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic reflect the relevance of our dedication as a grocer and a retailer to building a more resilient and equitable food system. In this past year, during the pandemic, 2020, Kroger and its foundations directed $213 million to charitable giving to help end hunger in the communities we call home across the nation. And our associates in our footprint of stores and our DCs and our manufacturing plants rescued 90 million pounds of food through our Zero Hunger, Zero Waste food rescue program. And the food and funds combined actually helped Kroger direct a record 1-year total of 640 million meals to individuals and families struggling with hunger across the country. And we're celebrating kind of the incremental increase from what was 493 million meals in 2019. So I kind of spoke to the zero hunger side, right? I also want to speak to the zero waste side in 2020. Kroger achieved an 81% waste diversion from landfills company-wide, which is up 1% from the prior year. And the company reduced total trash sent to landfills by 4% versus the 2019 figure. And I think really exciting, Kroger expanded its food waste recycling programs to include an additional 165 retail stores, reflecting kind of a launch of new programs in Indiana, Illinois, and Texas. And on the manufacturing side, we have 31 of our 34 Kroger operated plants that are zero waste facilities, which is an incredibly important milestone against our company's zero waste goals. Just this morning, we're really excited to announce the expansion of also what was our Simple Truth recycling program, which offers customers a free and easy way to kind of recycle the flexible plastic packaging, to include all of our private label brands, every single one of them, in the flexible plastic packaging space. And that's in partnership with TerraCycle, which is an organization that helps consumers recycle this, kind of non-accepted curbside program packaging. So we are excited to kind of launch that nationwide. And again, that's taking our Simple Truth plastic packaging program in partnership with TerraCycle and expanding it to all of our brands. So I'm just incredibly excited about our brand's commitment to the Zero Hunger, Zero Waste mission as well. So in my role, Pete and everyone, one of the most exciting parts is overseeing the Kroger Company Zero Hunger, Zero Waste Foundation and its Innovation Fund, which is a $10 million seed commitment from the Kroger Foundation to really help fill that philanthropic funding gap needed to support entrepreneurs and innovators with solutions that are working to improve food security and prevent food waste. We all know that ReFed tells us that we're all U.S. businesses, farmers, consumers, et cetera, have an opportunity of $200+ billion, right? And the fact that what we take to grow, process, transport, dispose of the food is never eaten. And that's the opportunity we have at hand in front of us, right? And I think what's important to really highlight also, right, in the spirit of Earth Day, is that I think we're all here because we believe that this is solvable. In the program of the Innovation Fund, in 2019, we launched our inaugural open call, which was in collaboration with ReFed, with the intent to really ask the world, like, do you know what Zero Hunger, Zero Waste is? And if not, let me tell you what it is. This is Kroger's bold moonshot. And if so, tell us how you as an innovator are solving for this, how you as an entrepreneur are finding those gaps, and how capital and resources will help you get there, right? And in our inaugural call, we had nearly 400 applicants, and we selected 7 amazing innovators that span scale solutions to solving a world for Zero Hunger, Zero Waste. And we unlocked $1 million during that.
They danced in Union Hall, right?
Yes, yeah, and it launched through Union Hall, and so we provided additional support, just so everyone's aware, to 5 of them through the pandemic last year. And I continue to have regular touch bases with them as we all continue our journey to Zero Hunger, Zero Waste. And this year, so I'll take you to today, on March 1st, we launched our second open call of the Innovation Fund. And this time we're collaborating with Village Capital, who is the largest supporter of impact-driven seed stage startups in the world. And we have an incredible advisory committee that has been along the journey with us since our market assessment at the end of last year, to our problem statement development, to sourcing applicants and reviewing our applicants, and being a part of mentors during our upcoming program. Applications close at the top of this month. And we actually, as a team, just completed our interview phase with the top 27 semifinalists. So I'm so excited. Like, this is truly the most rewarding part of my job, and such a privilege to be a part of. I'm just so excited to announce our cohort of 10 next month that will kind of initiate the program, identify milestones. And, I was telling Pete this prior to starting this conversation, is that we've really put the innovator at the core, what their needs are, their development is, getting them investment ready, whether we're looking at seed, early stage, and really gaining this partnership with Village Capital so that their access to do more is beyond what we can provide, right? But what we can do together as Village Capital and the Zero Hunger, Zero Waste Foundation.
And Sunny, having looked at both phase 1 and phase 2, you've had a chance to just look at a lot of businesses looking to address your really big challenges, both on the hunger and the waste side. Have you have you generally found that, some of the best innovations coming from the smaller player? In the old world, they'd say you only buy from IBM just to be safe. But are you finding that innovation is coming from the long tail of innovators, or I mean, how would you characterize the blend of contributors?
I think the whole reason we're getting after senior, like I want to specifically target in on stage, right, Pete? So the whole goal for us is to get really specific on the early and seed. Obviously, there are innovators who are spanning that stage scale in regards to how like appeal sciences, right, is wrapping our produce in this incredible film that's helping it stay fresher longer, and
Right.
that helps prevent food waste, right? But they're at a whole different level than what we are actually targeting, and I think that's for a reason. We actually want to help some of these seed early stage startups identify areas that they need to improve so that we can disrupt that exact question that you're asking, right, in regards to what what are their challenges, and let's get after it, because that's the way we can unlock together kind of what we're going after.
Well, let me push the tension in one area, and I'll kind of take you back to my Nestle experience. As you know, I was on the front end of all the global
Yeah.
social media and marketing, and we would do a lot of marketing of green. And oftentimes, I was kind of representing the PR side, and a lot of times, like the business side would roll their eyes a bit, and what I sense at Kroger, and I'd love your commentary. I see that Stephanie's on the call too. Maybe she can jump in as well. Is that I sense there's a real syncing between like the foundation world and the business side. I mean, even beyond Kroger, I'm kind of sensing that business leaders are starting to see the business advantage of sustainability. Can you comment? Is Pete just being optimistic? Is that happening within Kroger?
No, it's totally happening because so I can speak to the kind of the philanthropic, right, the foundation side, meaning like we're calling it social impact. And I think what's really brilliant about Kroger's setup and the way we are actually formatted is that the philanthropic house and the ESG are partnered together, right? And so that means we have regular conversations. That means we're driving towards similar goals and not working necessarily in separate silos, right? But better understanding what is it that we as a business are driving towards, and then what is it we're doing actually targeting our community partnerships, our entrepreneurial partnerships, et cetera. And I think that's really, I think we are set up in a way that is really meaningful as opposed to just being a marketing play. We are under corporate relations under our GVP, Keith Daly. And so, like I said, I think there's a great benefit, and you're seeing this this kind of growth and social impact and that connectivity to ESG. And I think Kroger's set up in a really unique way. I would invite Stephanie to comment.
Stephanie, any comments on that? I know I badger you on this topic all the time.
Yeah, sorry. Hi, guys. Thanks for giving me a second to unmute and get my video on. But no, I think what
Stephanie, just give some context on your role, other than being a proud member of the Centrifuge board.
Yeah, no problem at all. So I lead strategic partnerships investment for the technology and digital teams at Kroger. So I work across a variety of, very mature companies like Microsoft, and then also, startup networks to help us accelerate, right, our priorities, bring in new ideas, innovate, and also gladly represent Kroger on the board of Centrifuge. So really happy to join today. And I would really emphasize, right, with what Sunny shared in terms of, I think, as a business leader, right, zero hunger, zero waste, right, is not just a marketing campaign, right? Or, a standalone initiative. It really comes through everything that we do, right? And how do we bring it to life, and how do we bring new ideas and innovation to make it happen? And I think there's examples across the business, right, of where we're doing that. And Sunny shared some great examples, right? And it really is critical as we think about our fresh strategy too, right? In terms of how Kroger leads with fresh, right? Sustainability plays a huge part in how we go about that journey. So, I would just kind of reiterate and emphasize, I think, what was shared, and if helpful, right, that, I think Sunny's spot on with how we think about it.
Fantastic. Thanks for that. And Sunny, I don't mean to put you on the spot with this next question. I hope it's the right answer, but I know you, a couple of us on the call, we played a big role working with Flywheel for a kind of the first ever, green accelerator. I was just talking to Bill the other day about round 2.0, which we're very excited about. But I was wondering if you could just kind of share your impressions on what you saw. Did it reinforce your confidence? Were there any particular areas you thought, wow, God, wouldn't it be awesome if Cincinnati could build that out a little bit more? And it was an interesting blend there, both for profit, and interestingly, I thought some of the most interesting stuff was on the nonprofit side. But I love your perspectives and any guidance for us as someone who's soaked it all in from okay, how do we step up our game here?
Yeah. The Flywheel team is a great partner, and I love the energy. Josie, I see your comment. I was thrilled when Bill Tucker reached out to see if the Zero Hunger Zero Waste Foundation would consider supporting that vision, Pete, and that you had, right? So, and for us, it was an immediate, like, of course we're going to do this together. Like, we have to, try. And I have engaged in several follow-up discussions with the participants, and we've made additional connections to other community organizations and try to help really build awareness to their important work. I think it was really, something that you brought up, Pete, is that, you were excited about the nonprofit solutions, which may have surprised you, right? But I think a lot of nonprofits in this space are really thinking about how they operate as a business. And yes, they file as a tax exempt entity, but at the same time, like, they are trying to figure out, from a not just sustainable, like, environment and earth and planet. They're understanding that there are tax credit, there are options for revenue streams, and the creativity there is what I'm really excited about. How nonprofits are starting to think about their roles as well.
Yeah, like was it Last Mile Food Rescue? That was a nonprofit, right?
Yep.
See, it's interesting. Like, that was the idea that got me thinking. And they for those in the audience that aren't familiar, it's kind of like the Uber of food waste, and it's just a really brilliant principle of leveraging food that otherwise is going to go to landfills, but is still healthy and edible, and kind of redistributing it, kind of using the power of technology. Kind of came from the nonprofit side, but it's one of those things where it's hard not to imagine some profit hungry VCs not wanting to swarm around it. And I think that's part of what we need to figure out. I've often said that Silicon Valley works because you've got people that want to get really rich and people that want to change the world. They kind of hate each other, but they need each other. And that blend of the two is what makes the magic. And I kind of feel like, the good news in the Midwest, I don't think we all want to get filthy rich. I think we want to get, do well in the right way. But I just wonder whether there's a nice combo there. And I saw potential in that exercise. And we're so grateful, Kroger, just the fact that you were an early partner in that effort, I think sends a really, really important signal. Were there any other ideas you want to highlight that just kind of caught your eye from oh my gosh, we have to take this to the next level?
Yeah, so there were some recycling solutions, but I do want to highlight Be the Keeper.
Yeah.
That was really exciting from a excuse me. That really brought to light kind of like, yes, pollination, in the sustainability world, it's a very common an ESG practice, right, is very commonly discussed. But I just love the way that Brandon was really getting after like organizing. And I think, Pete, that might be like exactly what we're trying to get after, right? Like everybody's doing these really unique things and cool things, and they're doing it in Cincinnati, and not everybody knows about it, right? Even if they're owning one of those pieces of that. And it's just, for me, having those conversations and extended conversations with Brandon, I'm really excited about kind of his role and how he sees Be the Keeper as an organizer in regards to, well, specifically the pollination, right? And
Exactly.
keeping bees as an important part of, our environment. But I really, really am excited about what they're doing.
I just asked Catherine to share my list of 101 inspirations, and Brandon, Be the Keeper is there. I think there's a link as well. I also wanted to ask you, Sunny, be a bit reflective. I mean, first off, this is hard stuff. I mean, working with startups, you're from a big company. Everybody jokes about, how do you turn the tanker into a speedboat? And it's just hard for a lot of good reasons because you do stuff at scale. What have you learned about the challenges of working with, startups, and or any advice for those that are on this call thinking about how they get themselves ready to have a meaningful conversation with a Stephanie or a Sunny or and one of the many executives within Kroger. And I know there isn't a perfect answer, and it's a small crowd. It's safe harbor.
So Pete, my response to that would be that I think what was interesting for the Zero Hunger Zero Waste Foundation, it did not exist before we made our plan, before we set out to do this, right? We're like, we need to fund innovation in this. We're not quite sure what that means. And, when we started developing that and strategizing what our role could be to help, fill that philanthropic gap that our friends at Refed were telling us was really unique in this food waste space. And especially like getting after that hierarchy, right? Like how do you get after that preventative so that the funnel becomes smaller in itself, right? Is the fact that I say this to the startups. We as the Zero Hunger Zero Waste Foundation are operating like a startup. And I think that's truly fair. We're 2 years new and learning alongside of you. As I outlined the 2019 call versus like our 2021 call, we said at the top of this before our conversation started was, I hope we're getting better, Pete. I hope we're getting better as a philanthropic entity at putting the innovators at our core. And that will help us better understand how we help them through this journey and what our roles are and how we can build this net together. And I do think it is a little bit unique in the sense that, Kroger does have in our alternative revenue stream, a venture arm, right? That's very different. And it is aligned to kind of some of the food trends of, plant-based diets. I don't know if we're there yet in Cincinnati, but like insectarianism growing,
Yeah.
And I think all of those trends are really important to thinking about what our consumers want and need. But, we are putting sustainability, a better world for people and planet at the core of what we're doing. And we can do that because we're a philanthropic entity. But I would challenge you in saying that we're also operating very, very much as a startup ourselves.
And before we lose,
and I don't know if that's the right answer. Like, I don't even know if I like that answer, but that's my.
First off, it's super inspiring. It's such a great way to kick off Earth Day, way better than my coffee. Do you think, before we lose you, and one of the things that I love the fact that Kroger built one of their first urban stores just, right by OTR. And my mind keeps spinning about just, are there some bigger opportunities for us to think about, green lab experimentation, green plus e-commerce? I mean, I don't know. I mean, our team is having furious discussions about getting people back downtown, and I'm having a discussion with the city about, how do we upgrade Union Hall to make it more experiential? But do you think there's more we can do within the city as a green lab? I mean, I'm not trying to hold you accountable to anything, but just, just how do we, it's not just startups, it's also the environment that allows the startups, the platform, if you will, to move a lot faster. I mean, I've talked to, Stephanie about, boy, could we use 8451 data to let, entrepreneurs hack solutions similar to what the city does with their open data on recycling data. But I mean, what do you think? I mean, do you think that's an area we should be exploring?
Yeah, and I don't know if I'd call it a green lab, right? Because when you say green lab, I think of like incubator kitchens and like our innovation center downtown as well. But
Center of Excellence.
yeah, and I think and there's our you talk about our urban store on Court Street, right? And there is a food court, right? And in regard, like, how do we use that? And when that went dark, like we were furiously talking about it too, Pete, right? In regards to like, what could this mean? Not just now, but like moving forward. But and you hit like where my mind went in regards to unlocking solutions is using partners like 8451, right? And Charles Hoffman has actually been leading some work in Avondale specifically, and in regards to like helping to identify, what resources are available. Because you can't fill gaps or identify like needs to create labs or understand like access or non-access points, right? Unless you understand like where we can focus first and foremost, test and learn. And I will say that I am very excited to be a part of those conversations more broadly with Children's Hospital, Free Store Food Bank, some key players in that role, right? But we have to unlock some of that with data partners like 8451 who are so generously doing this work, truly pro bono, and doing the work because they have incredible expertise to be able to share to unlock this opportunity. So I think, yes, and if I could say anything else that I would add, like I am also like you, like just trying to hone in on like, oh, I'm hearing this. Are you connected to so-and-so? Are we talking to the same things? Are we developing exactly the same thing? And how do those, how do those merge, and can they merge, and does it make sense? Because duplicating is what has gotten us where we are today. It's understanding like what is our role? And I think Centrifuge is a huge leader in that. And I would hope that the Zero Hunger Zero Waste Foundation can start to be a leader in that as well.
One thing we'll do is we will, we're going to now hear from the group after you leave and we're going to build on this, and we'll send you our notes in terms of what folks come up, and maybe we can schedule I'd actually love to do this on a regular basis. Maybe we can figure out some platform where we can keep talking, but I really want to, not only Centrifuge, but just the other groups out there like Flywheel, HCDC, Cincy Tech is starting to get into this area. We want to be your partners. We want to be your sales force. We want to, increase your odds of success. We want to help you figure out that challenging, formula between the startup and the big co. We know it's achievable, but it's kind of a bit of a challenging slog. I do think topics like sustainability and even diversity are kind of rewriting rules of speed within organizations. So it is a big accelerator, and let's keep our heads together. Do you have any final comments for the group before you sign off to your next huddle? We're so grateful for your time.
I feel like my parting thought would be, I think what's really important for the focus of at least the Zero Hunger Zero Waste Foundation, and this is just a sphere that I can speak from, is when we went out with our 2021 challenge, is that we're looking to disrupt the linear supply chain, right? And that's just kind of like the simple straight path of raw materials production and then like ultimately that disposal phase, right? And there's this culture of take, make, waste, and I think it's all compounding and all the things that we know: higher prices, unsustainable overuse of resources, etc. But I think what we are wanting to focus our philanthropic dollars on, and our energy and our resources, is really against that like preventative space, and understanding like circularity and thinking about that first and putting that at the core of what we're doing, right? And as opposed to like, all these things are problems, like how do we solve for them? Is understanding like, who is getting after like the whole system and looking at it in a different light. So that's what exciting. That's
Well,
what
thank
excites
you
me.
so much for your time. Thank you for what you're doing.
Mhm.
Thank you, Rodney, and all your leadership team. I know that leadership helps you do
Of
what you
course.
need to do, because you kind of need it from the top, you need it from the bottom. And let's definitely have a follow-up very soon. We'll get our recap, hopefully some fantastic ideas. And best of luck as you finalize the next batch of a grant award winners. And even if they're not based in Cincinnati, let's figure out how we can create incentives for them to at least have a beachhead here.
I love it. I love it. Thanks so much, Pete, for
Take
having
care.
me. Thanks for being a leader too.
Best background of the day. Okay. All right, so everybody, you've got some, green stimulation. You heard a company that probably is probably one of the biggest. They're one of the biggest employers in the world. They're also one of the biggest food players on the globe. So they're like the ultimate supply chain influencer. And you heard an incredible receptivity to not only moving the green needle, but moving the green needle with small startups at seed stage. So love to get some reactions. Is Andrew still on the line? He's one of my favorite green partners. He's on our board. Michaelman is doing incredible work in this area on the progressive edge. And I'd love to get some reactions from you.
Well, I think I'll capture what I just listening to Sonny and the bold vision and the leadership they're showing is spectacular. To have them in Cincinnati is a gift. And then to listen to some of the statistics that Sonny was going through at the beginning of the impact that they can have around them just because of the scale of that organization was spectacular. I think the fun question for us, Pete, is where you were focusing, which is how do we leverage Kroger and what they're doing and put Cincinnati in a place that we can feed into that and use them as an amplifier. So I don't know how many stores they have or how many employees they have, but it's ideas that can be generated and fed into that system will be spectacular. So how do we take Union Hall to amplify that effort? How do we take, you've heard my vision, Pete, about a center of sustainable packaging in Cincinnati, tying together the Proctors, the Krogers, the Rumpkes,
Exactly.
other players. Many of you don't know us. We play a small role in the sustainable packaging space to create something more. And that's not to take away from what they're doing, because it's phenomenal what they're doing. But how do we invest into that and accelerate that, with Cincinnati being a hub? So I think that's the right place to do it. And again, layering into that, it's the how do the big companies like Kroger and Procter help and support these entrepreneurial startups, or companies like Michaelman? How do we help pull these ecosystems together in a way that enables these ideas to come quickly? Because that's the other challenge here, is the speed. Just sharing a fun story with you guys. The complexity of the packaging value chain is hard. And if you work backwards, and I was on a call last night, and we're working on a package for a major consumer brand in Europe. It's being designed in Europe, sold in Europe, but the package is being made in China by converters in China with chemistry that we're bringing to the package to make it biodegradable packaging. If you hear that and you think about what you have to do to make these things come to reality in a Kroger store, there's a lot there. How do we help startups crack into that fairly complex zone? So just a few thoughts.
Great thoughts. I see 80 Acres Farms is on the line. Deborah, I don't mean to kind of put you on the spot, but I'm actually talking to Tisha later on a big webinar, wondering if you had any kind of reactions to what you heard today.
Oh, thank you. Yes, appreciate that. You'll be actually talking to Tisha, I think, in the Netherlands then this afternoon. So she's across the ocean today. Yeah, I see a definite challenge with the as we scale and then have that magnitude of impact increase with that scale. So hearing Kroger speak those numbers and you being an indoor agriculture firm right here in Cincinnati, Hamilton, but with big eyes to grow and expand this model partnering with or working with retailers across the country and across the world, the impact is obvious. But you brought up that packaging piece, and so you caught me right in the thought process there, because that is we have such an well, I'm biased, but such an awesome product, right? It's fresh and just the pesticide free and the sustainability there with the just in how we produce that product all year round. But then we have to package it and get it literally that last mile, because we can be so close to that retail store, but you still have to get it there, and which means you've got to package it. And that is our latest version of packaging significantly, I think it was a 40% reduction in the plastic, but we know that there's still a lot of work to be done there. And I just see that as being a huge opportunity for us moving forward, is how do we crack this packaging? Because it is so complex.
It is.
That's what hit me when you were talking about that, Andrea, is that it is a whole science in and of itself.
Yeah, Mike and I was on a panel yesterday with Mike Zelkine to about 100 association for, I forget, it was a pretty important group, but he was talking, I hadn't quite connected the dots on the process innovation of 80 acres and the packaging dividend, partly because it's all kind of based on kind of shorter shelf cycles. So there's a lot more that you can do. Let me move over to Richard from Innovation Girls. And for those of you that missed my comments earlier, a couple of weeks ago, I was honored to be invited to be on the judging panel of a session that Richard and his partner put together with his models. He has 10 to 14-year-old, girls who kind of speak TikTok literally, with fluency, and who kind of take on big challenges for companies. And I was kind of blown away at how many packaging solutions, sustainable solutions kind of were dreamed up by them. And I was thinking to myself, gosh, at Nestle, all the bureaucracy and the money, and it'd be like 5 years before you could come up with something that the Innovation Girls would come up in like 5 seconds. So tell us a little bit about, love to get some of your reactions. Anything you want to share about what you're doing with the Innovation Girls model?
Thank you, Pete. Thank you for this opportunity. What an incredible session. And my mind kept going in the direction of this blend of Centrifuge and Kroger and P&G and the dynamic that's happening. I think Andrew reflected on it. It's a breath of fresh air for a lot of us who want to innovate as startups and want to bring many innovators into the fore, especially the youth in our region. We have such an opportunity to really kind of leverage Centrifuge, and through Centrifuge leverage these behemoth of Kroger. That is incredible what I heard today, and I love that direction. I can see a better future for our daughters. I know we're focused on girls because we're trying to solve a societal problem, and we have to really focus. We're even focused on an age of 10 to 15, and we're seeing incredible opportunities for them because their mind works in incredible ways. But we're obsessed about giving them that chance to get over that cliff effect, which is a big constraint in society today, that early years of losing anywhere from 30 to 40% of their confidence. If we nail that with the help of the organizations that are in town, starting with Centrifuge, and then we move to the next level of funding them to go and launch their startups in our region, which is the second constraint. You know what happened in 2020? The investment, the institutional investment that went behind female founders dropped to 2.1% of the whole lot. That is, it's an endemic issue. We need to solve it. And so we're going after these two constraints. And I think what I heard today is it makes my heart just open up.
You
It's
know,
beautiful.
and one of the insights I've picked up on, Richard, is that young people bring a level of confidence, maybe even a little bit of healthy righteousness to the green space that I think opens up a lot of growth opportunity. And so how can we, as the enablers, the big companies, the partners, the validators, kind of ride that, right? My kids, the green stuff, it's a heavier volume. And my daughter really, sometimes calls me a hypocrite because I'm out here doing these webinars and I'm not doing, and it's a confidence you don't see in other aspects of what they're saying. And so everything with kids is like, how do you build the self-esteem as much as possible, early on? And so maybe that's something we kind of think about a little bit more. Eileen or Veronica, any kind of builds from your perspective, on what you've heard, or thoughts or suggestions for us as we try to write that memo to to Sunny and others? Anyone want to jump in?
Sorry, this is Eileen from Cincinnati Children's Hospital.
Thanks for joining us.
I'm not representing the hospital. This is my day job is in innovation, but it's a volunteer hat that I wear.
Don't worry, we're all in that camp.
And unfortunately, I missed the first part of your presentations. I signed up to hopefully get a recording.
Okay,
But
good.
it's very exciting to see all these minds in Cincinnati working towards a solution, and hope to be a part of it.
Okay, terrific. Stephanie, any other additional builds based on what you've heard, or other things going on at Kroger that we should know about, or things that are keeping you up at night on this topic, especially on Earth Day?
No, I think I really, Pete, I appreciate the opportunity for us to be able to share. And we appreciate, the support and excitement for Kroger's strategy. I mean, personally, for me, right, it's something that makes me really, really proud, to work for the company in terms of the daily focus, right? And the, desire to look forward and innovate, right? And bring in new ideas and, put out pitches for startups, because we're saying, right, we can't do this alone, right? We're all in this together. So, I think, from a business perspective, it becomes more critical than ever, right? As we expand our fulfillment network, right? You may have seen that we are ready to launch our first very large fulfillment center with Ocado, who is a technology partner. And, one of the questions, right, that accompanies that launch is, how are we going to look at this from a sustainability perspective, right? As we, stand up, 10, 15, 20 of these really large facilities. So I think I would just really, underscore, what I think Sunny shared, right, which is, we know we can't do it alone, right? We need to innovate. We need the ideas, right? So just really appreciate the opportunity to engage with this community, right, and beyond, to really kind of bring our mission to fruition. So we're grateful, we're excited, and we know we have a lot to do.
Great. Thanks so much. And thanks for being such a great partner, Stephanie, on so many different fronts. How about Jessica? I love your background, by the way. Any reactions from your end?
Hey, thanks. And so I'm from Capgemini. We're a partner to Kroger and also a large global IT and business consulting firm. And, besides working with Kroger, we work across all of the large and mid-sized companies across Cincinnati. And one of the benefits I feel is that while Cincinnati is we're a large city, we have a lot of great minds, we're all a really close-knit community still. And seeing the great work that we do with all of these organizations and the things that we do as partners to support Zero Hunger, Zero Waste and support P&G's sustainability initiatives and support everybody else's sustainability initiatives. One thing that I feel like there's a gap is a sustainability forum for all of us to come together and just share our ideas. And when I saw this webinar, and that it's Earth Day and everything, I was so jazzed because Zero Hunger, Zero Waste is just like in my heart. And I want to do everything we can to help support the foundation on behalf of our organization. But I just feel like we could be doing more just with regular brainstorming and ideation, and bringing all of these great minds together across all these big companies that have these great goals and just share. The closed loop partners initiative with the plastic bags, kind of similar, all of the grocers come together and try to figure out how together to get rid of the plastic bags and what to do for the future. And it's kind of the same, within Cincinnati, the challenge is around, okay, so how do we use this as a platform to really grow innovation in the green space and sustainability? Well, who better than all of the great minds that have a passion about it and having a forum for it regularly.
Well, you've just invited a homework assignment. I hope you don't mind, but let's go back to what Andrew was saying earlier. We've been having discussions about precisely that at a number of levels. I mean, what is the platform? What's the lab? What's the center of excellence? But also, we're also trying to figure out, is there some signature event that is like a green CES in Cincinnati that we could uniquely own, maybe deliver with efficiency, given all the Zoom skills that we've picked up of late, that could be a bit of a beacon to the world that we're really, really serious about this. And I'd love to brainstorm with you, on that. I think there's two different dimensions, very exciting dimensions where Cincinnati can win. Number one, there's a material science part that I think, incumbent strengths like Michaelman and others are doing incredible stuff, but also even the innovation girls are kind of thinking through that. I think we could really open up and maybe drive synergies with our universities. And then there's an experiential side that I think is really on fire right now. This is blockchain meets ESG. This is following my, Starbucks coffee cup all the way to, the coffee bean grower, and green storytelling. And I think, we've got the world's biggest advertiser down the street. We've got one of the biggest grocers that's also becoming a health company. And so, how do we kind of tackle that in a very powerful way? And I would love your ideas. In fact, yesterday, because I actually have a meeting with the city in about 2 hours to talk about what a future lab might look like. And by the way, we got really good concept scores on the notion of a green center of excellence. We tested a lot of different areas, and that's one that seems to have a lot of energy around it. So you'll be getting a follow-up. Anybody else want to jump in? Well, I think we got time for just a few more comments. Heather Gaynor, any kind of reactions, suggestions for the Cincinnati crowd? Elisa, any reflections from your end? Elisa heads up our along with Mark, heads up our innovation services department. She's doing an amazing job. She's done some of the first ever, sustainability vulnerability audits. It's a whole separate webinar, but I thought I'd give her a shout out for that. But what are you thinking?
Sure. This has been really, really amazing. I've been capturing all the trends, I guess the patterns and, what's coming up, what are the key points of the conversation. And what I'm hearing is we need to have authentic and meaningful engagement. How do we disrupt the take, make, waste attitude in the supply chain? How do we fix the value chain complexity? Cincinnati as a force for nature or a force for good. And really, I guess at the heart of all of it, it seems to be around collaborating and partnering to maximize and actualize the potential that we all have. So it's really, really exciting. And I can't wait to see what comes next. I love the idea of us all getting together and having a forum for this and making it really big.
Good. Anybody else not? Thank you so much. Thanks for your leadership, Elisa. Really, really loved working with you. Anybody else want to jump in? Deborah, I see you got another comment.
Yeah, I just wanted to add quickly because we were talking about what does Cincinnati bring to the table here from the air, who we are. And I think there's a strong roots in old-fashioned manufacturing here, right? So hard work in manufacturing, but with that comes an understanding of continuous improvement, lean manufacturing, um, the process discipline and control that comes to running an efficient process. And all of those tools, particularly, I mean, you think lean manufacturing is all about eliminating the 8 wastes, right? And they directly link or could link directly to the sustainability effort. So rather than making it just green, I think you can really talk to a population with how you link that to the skill set and the skills that are already out there on making processes more efficient. That's what process engineers, that's what manufacturing engineers do, is make the process more efficient. And you can put that, use those same principles towards making it more sustainable because you are in fact eliminating waste. And that they aren't contrary to each other, but
No,
they
I
can
love
actually
that.
build upon each other. So
I think that
it's
is
a root that we have here in Cincinnati.
I think that is such an important point, Deborah. In fact, Mike and I were talking, and Mike Delka and I were talking about doing an op-ed together on just really, yeah, bridging that whole sustainability to these other, efficiencies and business benefits. I do worry sometimes, and I feel self-conscious about it. My gosh, am I going to get stereotyped as some touchy-feely greenie? And I'm like, no, I'm a big believer in business growth. And so is Cincinnati the lab to kind of make the connection, come together, in a win-win way? And I want to give the final word to Josie Dalton, who is with Flywheel, Social Impact Accelerator, and they are just doing an incredible job, leading this movement. They've got a huge appetite to take it to the next level. And I don't mean to put you on the spot. I know you're still working it out. I just talked to Bill about, something for the fall, but can you give us at least a little teaser, or at least confirm that you're ready to kind of jump into the green pond again?
Yes, of course. First of all, thank you, Pete. This was a great way to start the day today. So we learned a lot last fall from our first iteration of the Sustainable Cincy program. We had great companies. We validated the fact that this region is overflowing with people who are passionate about sustainability, want to drive innovative solutions in that space. So in the fall, we're really looking forward to running the program again. Like Pete said, we want to take it to the next level. Really increase the access to capital for those startups, build up relationships with big cos, and make sure that there's a clear path forward for all those innovators. So stay tuned. We're really excited about it.
Yeah, thanks for your leadership. Well, thank you for joining us. And hey, Mark, is Mark still on? I think we might have lost Mark, but listen, thanks so much for your time. We'll get the summary out, and hopefully something that you can share with your team. We want you to be evangelists and ambassadors for your internal organizations. There's going to be a lot of activity here. In a couple of weeks, we're going to drop a really significant report as part of the restart effort that was kind of created with business and startup leaders coming out of the crisis. But we got a big one on supply chain and new commerce, and 80% of the recos touch sustainability. And Kroger played a big role, P&G played a big role, Cintas, 80 Acres, you name it. But that should provide a basis for some really, everything that we were talking about in terms of building a platform, getting more startups. I think that's going to provide a lot of green mojo into the process. So more to hear on that. And then just remember that keep spreading the word that Centrifuge and the other organizations, they are ready to help any entrepreneur that has an idea. We're going to take that idea into a concept, into a viable product. MVP will help you get customer feedback, will help you, if it hits the right milestone, get capital. But at the end of the day, we're all about helping entrepreneurs and startups win. So, take advantage and importantly, kind of spread the word. There are a lot of entrepreneurs today that are on the fence, on the coast, freaking out about spending their life savings on a bathroom and are kind of thinking about, is there somewhere else I could live that has a better supportive community, where I can, have a real house and pursue my dream to change the world and work with big, respectable companies in the process. And this is the place to do it. But we need you to be ambassadors. And trust me, every city in the country, nay, the world, is developing strategies to do precisely that. So we also can't take it for granted. So need your help on this. Green's going to be a big focus. You'll be hearing more from us. And if you haven't signed up for our 1 o'clock webinar, please do. We've got a huge crowd, and Alex, the analyst, just released a report like 5 minutes ago on food supply chain sustainability. It's fantastic. It gets into zero waste, and anybody who participates is going to get a free, I don't know, what is it, Elisa, like 3 weeks of a pitch book, all you can eat. It's a pretty awesome deal.
Yes.
So you've got a really good incentive. And I've become like, I eat pitch book for breakfast every morning. Okay, thank you very much. We'll get back to you. Talk to you soon.